is in the process of building over 400 housing units of green and smart home in the U.S. GTEx Holdings grew from a bulk SMS company to a holding company with several subsidiaries, including GTEx Homes, GTEx Lands, GTEx Seeds, GTEx Associates, GVest, Stephen Akintayo Foundation and Consulting, and others. The company currently operates in Nigeria, Dubai, US, UK. It was recently awarded Forbes Best of Africa as 2023 Investment Coach and Real Estate Mogul of the Year. He's a serial entrepreneur and currently working on a 7-year, over 400 housing unit project in the US. The Green Estate, which will sit on 40 acres of arable land, I should say, would also account for the largest stretch of luxury housing in the United States of America, raising the bar for the future of luxury and technology in modern housing. In this interview, Dr. Stephen will highlight the parameters of the project for existing investors and would-be investors. He will also speak on the viability of the global real estate market and how GTEx is evolving to accommodate the emerging demands of modern housing. Welcome to the show, Dr. Stephen Akintayo. Doctor, GTEx Holding has come a long way. Can you tell us about the growth of the company, how you built GTEx as a global brand, and what exactly the interests of the company are? I'm good to see you again. You know, I know some of this story myself, so I will just wait back and hear it again as you tell the story.
People have accused you of being nice to me when I come to your station. That governors tremble before Rufai. How come he's nice to you? I said, but he knows the story. So I used to come to your radio station then to market bulk SMS and interviews and all that. So yeah, we started as a bulk SMS firm. Then we had, I remember an organization that wanted to do an event. So they gave us 700 Naira. And then I added 300. I didn't have a laptop. It was the days where you go to cyber cafe, then you sign up to another company that had a website. And then, you send the SMS from their portal. And then gradually we started going to schools to convince schools that they could communicate to parents via SMS during holidays. Parents are owing them for stuff. Before you know it, big companies were interested. In those days, there was no what we call DND. So when you send SMS to anyone, they get it. And so it became another tool for big companies to start using it as a marketing tool. And we grew at some point to become the largest database owners. Email, we had over 10 million email database. We had over 100 million phone number database categorized by entrepreneurs. Those were entrepreneurs, those who were professionals, those local government by local government. And that's really how we started. 2015, I said to myself, what next? Because at that point, Chivita, PZ, all the political parties were our clients. We're really on top of it. I said, what next? I mean, for me, I love to look into the future. I believe that at your peak is when you should have a new vision, a new dream, a bigger dream. And a lot of entrepreneurs, but unfortunately in Africa, we get to relax when we're at a peak and then begin to feel like we've arrived. But for me, what's next? And real estate was next because visiting Silicon Valley, I went to Google campus, Facebook campus, Apple campus, and I was humbled because some of these places like Facebook campus over 100 acres of land. I think almost 200. And so I saw that these guys were big time into real estate game. It wasn't just the software, it wasn't just the technology. I mean, at this point, I was visiting Silicon Valley. I've helped companies build over 5,000 websites for different small businesses. So it dawned on me, real estate was a real long-term game. Every sector, I don't care what you do, you're into real estate. Media, your studio now has to be on a property. Hospitality, hospitals, clinics, tourism, agriculture is still real estate business. So we're expanding to real estate, and here we are.
All right.
All right, really great, and it's always refreshing to hear stories like this. Starting, you're persistent. I was saying that your story speaks of your business acumen, being able to venture into different parts of business and succeed. Can you tell us about the expansion in your Nigeria real estate portfolio and why?
Yeah, so I mean, we set out. Remember, we started real estate in Nigeria, and the first vision was we wanted to do to have 200 locations where we have estates. At the moment, we have over 20. This year, we should be adding another 15 to 20 as well. I mean, our biggest expansion in Nigeria is actually this year. And unfortunately, sometimes people, because of the US expansion, people think that maybe we're moving out of the Nigerian business. No, we have a new 260-acre estate we're launching in Djibouti in the next couple of weeks. We have 2 new estates we're launching in Port Harcourt. We're moving to the eastern part of Nigeria. Aba and Enugu is at the first states, and then gradually move to the other ones. We're moving to the northern part of Nigeria. Kaduna is almost launched now. But the question is why? Why is because I remember saying on your show before election that the 3 presidential candidates understood business better than President Buhari. And I see economic growth irrespective of who wins the election or who is declared the winner. So I'm forecasting that Nigeria economy will grow. And the truth is, real estate is at the foundation of that growth. When you look at some of the data, I mean, look at Washington Post did a research about Africa, and they discovered that by the year 2100, Nigeria will have 2 largest cities in the world. 2 largest cities in the world will be in Nigeria. Lagos being the largest city in the whole of the world with over 80 million people. 80 million people, right? And if you understand how real estate appreciates, population growth is what drives real estate. I mean, people ask us, why we're expanding in Texas? We're expanding in Texas because companies are moving to Texas because their law are better in terms of tax, and their incentives are a lot better, low crime rates. So the same thing with Lagos. Population is growing because a lot of people, the rural urban migration, people are moving to, and this is a US company that did this research, the Washington Post. So for us is we have to expand. Many of where we have estates now, we are beginning to put offices because we realize that part of the problem of our sector is trust. People just struggle to trust. So we said, we will start putting offices there. Remember, we were talking about, launching 100 housing units. Unfortunately, we realized that, again, people are struggling to trust to get into that. So now we say, okay, we'll build an office on the site. You can come to the site. Our staff, we even build accommodation for our staff there. Thank God we're using green and smart. So we're using solar. So whether we have electricity or not, they're always having, we partner with Starlink. They have internet 24/7. And so for us is, we have to get Nigeria right. But the fact that you're expanding in Nigeria does not mean you should not diversify internationally, because you need the foreign exchange to stabilize your operations, particularly when you're doing business in Africa.
Well, you mentioned the U.S. expansion. Could you tell us about the U.S. expansion and how the idea for the proposed Jasper Estate in Houston came about? Were you shopping for it, or did the property just happen to be available?
Well, the little I know about success is that success is intentional. Nobody, success never happens by magic or assumption. For us, it was, we expanded to Dubai. We control over 100 properties in Dubai, and we wanted to start development in Dubai, but we wanted a country where the human rights, the laws are very strong. We know we can always get justice, because again, sometimes we fail to realize that when you're doing real estate, you're dealing with different people. So as a real estate developer, you're dealing with, of course, whoever locals you're buying the land from. In the US, of course, it's usually easy because you don't have a monile. But you're also dealing with regulators, right? Permits, is a major issue. You're also dealing with customers. So it's a very, very tough business. And in the course of that, there will be issues, there will be disagreements. So we wanted a country where the laws are strong and we can always get justice if for any reason we give a contractor job, he didn't do it well, we need something done. And so for us, that was why we felt the biggest expansion internationally has to be in the US. And then the US also has a better financing model. It's only in the US that we can get the best financing. I mean, if you want to do any project in the US, once you have 30% of the total amount, you can do the project. You have institutional investors giving you the rest. If you are a US citizen or a US company with just 5 to 10% deposit, right, you will get 90% of the money given to you by institutional investors. It's also easier to raise funds because there are law. You know, for example, this Houston project now, we're doing what we call debt syndication, where people are able to invest individually, and then we syndicate the whole thing to do the entire $150 million project. Some of these things are much difficult to achieve when you're doing them in Africa. So for us, that was why US. And like I said, we needed the US because as we expand in the US, we can repatriate our profit back to Nigeria and use it. Remember, our visions is very audacious, right? We want to build golf courses, we want to build hotels in this estate we're building in Nigeria. So our biggest real estate asset will still be in Nigeria, with 200 locations, with over 25,000 housing. But we want to build golf courses, polo club, hospitals, schools, and all this stuff. So it's a very, really ambitious project, long term, of course, you know. But we felt that expanding to the US will unlock liquidity, will help our bankers to be able to say, hey, we may not have been to Nigeria, we will not trust whatever you say we want to do in Nigeria, but we can hold what you have in the US as a collateral for what you're trying to take, to go and expand your Nigerian project.
All right. So what's the financial implication of your various real estate projects, and how do you intend to raise, the much needed funding for them at the capital?
Beautiful. So at some point, definitely we'll go to the capital market, and that's also why we're telling our story early before we ever need to go to the capital market. I'm big on being proactive. But for us at this moment, we're focused more on institutional investors and, private individuals who believe in our story, who love our story, and who, as well as customers who are just investing. I need to say that our story is very unique. Oftentimes I meet people who say to me, your model looks disruptive, right? Hardly will you ever see any company as big as yours coming on social media, coming on normal media, talking about project, raising funds, talking about, and I say, well, it's just a sign of the times. And I hope young people can learn from that, because I cannot raise funds the way Dangote will raise funds. I can't raise funds the way Tony Elumelu will raise funds. Why? There is also an age factor, right? These guys are in their 60s. An average of their colleagues can afford a lot more. An average of my mate, I'm in my late 30s, right? Some are still looking for a job. So I have to go a different route. And that's why sometimes it's confusing for people, the approach, but it's the approach that can work for a younger person, for somebody that doesn't have a big uncle, a rich uncle, some connection, some, godfather, is the approach. And I hope, and I'm intentional about documenting, and that's why I'm big about writing books, because I understand that is the part that will work for a lot of young people, right? To follow, to raise capital, to sell their vision. I mean, what we're doing is incredible. I mean, I have never seen anyone who came from the kind of background we came from, who is able to dare what we are daring, and that people also then believe in what the craziness of those ideas. I remember saying the story of one of our clients. He paid us over $1 million to buy property from us in Dubai. The day he came to collect his key was the day I was seeing for the first time. It was the day he was seeing any of our staff physically. It used to be Zoom meeting with our staff. And I remember having to ask him, I said, why did you trust us that much, right, to invest this much, and you've never even seen us? And the guy just said, listening to your story, I just knew that you're too intelligent to play games. I mean, you can make it legitimately, right? So why will you want to play games with anybody? And so I believed in the story and I invested. And so the way people trust us is really incredible. I can just say thank you.
All right, and trust is quite critical when you're in your business space, especially if people are going to trust you with a lot of money. Trust is a currency that cannot be, jeopardized. Well, let me ask you. So your various USA expansions, what stage are you? Also, can you walk us through the various US projects you plan to execute in the next 5 to 10 years?
Beautiful. So in Valdosta, state of Georgia, we have, I don't know whether they give you the clips, we have a 20-unit townhouse we are currently selling for $250,000 to $275,000. And people are free to buy. They don't need to be a U.S. citizen to buy it. And that is already completed. In fact, people live in it. So the beautiful thing about it is an investment, is a real estate investment option. The beautiful thing about the Valdosta project is that you will already have tenants. So as soon as you pay for it, the next month's rental income will be going to your account. And this works for a lot of people who, particularly Nigerians who have students studying abroad and they're always needing FX. So that project is already completed. It's just for people who want to buy, and it's converted to in their name, and they're the new owner. We also have in Valdosta. The Valdosta's ones are cheaper. We have as low as $120,000, $150,000 in the state of in Alabama, in Alabama. So the ones in Alabama are a lot cheaper. They were fix and flip. In other words, they were houses we bought and repaired them, and we started reselling them. Now we have this this Houston project rather, where we are building from scratch. So the first two I mentioned, was fix and flip. Fix and flip means you buy it when it's dilapidating, and then you fix it, and then you resell it. All right. Usually, while you're waiting to get a buyer, you can get tenants to start living in it and pay you rent, so that you just don't have the house just waiting there. But this Houston project, we are trying to build from scratch, 40-acre, and we're building. But these are not the only thing. Our goal is to really, really expand as fast as we can. We also want to do apartments as well, commercial real estate, where we're buying 100 housing units in terms of apartments. There are already tenants in it, and we call that cash flow real estate investment. So in the next couple of months, you're always going to see us unveil another new project, another this project, another that project. And like I said, our goal is to spend the next 5 years to strengthen our international base. And then we can then come back to Nigeria with some of our profits and see how we can expand aggressively. Because you and I know the FX issue we're facing. So most of what we're using to build in Nigeria are in dollars. Now, we're struggling, and this is an industry issue in Nigeria. A lot of us, we tell our customers, pay us 100 million, we're giving you a 4-bedroom. Now, in a matter of months, we will need 200 million to finish that project, right? It becomes difficult, at that point. So for us, it's like, you know what? If you can grow that US base, you can even use your own money to build some of these things. And then when you are promising customer a particular amount, there's no changes in the pricing, and you don't create that issue where everybody is just not happy with each other.
Now, Nigerians don't have the best reputation out there. We all know that. But why do you think investors keep trusting you with their funds? You're a Nigerian. Why are you different?
Well, number one, transparency, right? I'm never afraid to say we got it wrong or we got it right. I'm very, very open. For example, we launched our 1,000 housing project. We started the launch in 2021. We started some housing. Before contractors were coming back to us with variation almost every 2 months. And so we had to pause the project and reach back to the clients. Again, we tried to kickstart it again last year, and again, we all know what has happened to dollar again. So today, a lot of people don't know that we only have 11 customers who in terms of we have other projects that are not green and smart in Nigeria. But in terms of our green and smart project, we only have 11 customers. And that's why sometimes people are surprised that, we see you expanding more into lands and land. Yeah, because we have thousands of people who are our customers when it comes to buying land. But when it comes to the housing, remember it's green and smart, so it's a bit expensive. You have people, and then the prices keep going up in terms of inflation and the devaluation of the naira. So for us, we had to really look back and say we probably need to keep changing the strategy to work with the times and to face the reality we're facing. So transparency has helped, because once you can communicate your challenges and people can see the sincerity, they're going to trust you. The second thing is, for us is integrity. And I tell people integrity is not, integrity is doing keeping to your words, right? Integrity is saying what you mean, when you mean, how you mean. Integrity is saying, I will do this and you do it. However, because you are not God, integrity is also communicating it if for any reason beyond your power, you cannot do it. And I think I tell people, I say Nigerians are not that unreasonable. They just want you to talk to them, right? If things don't go the way you have planned it, open it up and let them know, communicate it. And so for us, I think that has helped. Ability to, it's risky as well, because you are being vulnerable. You're coming online every day. You're talking, you're sharing your journey, you're sharing where you are. But I think it resonates with a lot of our people. And it's probably one of the reasons. I mean, you guys can also tell me what are the other reasons, but those are the ones I have figured out.
I mean, so are you confident that GTEx is not buying more than it can chew, especially in the light of the recession that has hit many economies in the world?
Beautiful question. So my argument is always go the opposite direction. 16 years is enough time to agree that certain philosophies work. I mean, we've been in business 16 years now, and we've always grown bigger and better during crisis. COVID was, a lot of people didn't know GTEx until after COVID-19, okay? And that was also intentional, because during COVID, I studied the story of Jack Ma, and, they had SARS in their country. And so I knew that as much as everybody were locking down, a lot of real estate developers, even told their staff till December, I was just getting started, because I understood that it was the same period of SARS that Jack Ma Alibaba was able to overtake eBay, who was doing better than him. So for us during COVID, I was practically sleeping in our office with a few staff and cracking out how we're going to, continue to move and take advantage of that season. Where the people didn't know, were practically the only one doing CNN adverts, immediately after COVID-19, when everybody was saying we're not sure where the world was going. And we grew by over 500% that period. So for me there is high interest rate in America. And what that has done right now is that most developers have stopped building. Now, we that were going into it, by 2026, there will have been a new government. Inflation will have dropped. The interest rate will have come down. But guess what will have happened? There will now be a huge deficit of new houses in America. And you can go do your research. Like I said, I'm also Harvard trained in terms of real estate investment. And so I got to understand how real estate works in America. So you have that deficit coming in. Now, who are those who will have new houses? GTEx, by 2026, our first set of housing units will be out, will be ready. And we'll be able to sell them at a much higher price point, because we went in when everybody was going out. So the rule for me, and it's always been my rule when it comes to investment, when everybody is scared of doing an investment, that's when I go. When they zig, I zag. Always go in the opposite direction and you'll win.
Well, on that note, we'd like to thank you very much, Dr. Akintayo, for joining us on the morning show.